Atlas RFID was founded in 2007 to bridge the gap between auto ID and efficiency-conscious firms. Our software product, JoVIX, utilizes RFID and barcodes to track materials from fabrication to installation, both online and via mobile. This is Material Readiness, and that means skilled labor, including welders, pipe fitters, and installation crews, spend less time waiting on materials and more time on tools. JoVIX has been deployed on over 300 sites in 10 countries spanning 5 continents.
Welcome to the Atlas RFID 2018.2 webinar. Today we're going to cover the product release that was launched last week. Today we have Corey Truitt, Project Manager with extensive on-site industrial construction experience, and Jace Brewster, our engineer and co-inventor of our active drone-mounted reader patent. So we'll be discussing in greater detail the drone-mounted reader project. And at the end, we have Daniel Binion, our VP of Product Management, who will take a few comments and wrap up the webinar. So this is me. I'm Jeff Burns, your moderator. My background is aviation, and now I'm a product manager with Atlas RFID. I've been involved with our newly patented RFID drone program since its inception. And today I'm very excited to debut our patent-pending drone-mounted reader. Before we jump into the content, I want to give you a quick heads up that throughout this 30-minute webinar, we have our live chat open. It's already now ready as I speak. You can submit your questions into the GoToWebinar chat window, and we'll be watching and responding directly via chat throughout the webinar. We'll also publish several of the questions and responses to the audience at large after the webinar. So feel free to use the chat window for any topic with our monitors. So for example, if you would like a material readiness assessment, just let us know and we can schedule a time to discuss the benefits of JoVIX to your specific site. I won't go into great detail here, but know that the opportunity material readiness assessment will demonstrate both in time and money the benefits of JoVIX. As we're excited to see many first-time attendees today, I'd like to take just a minute to tell you a little bit about Atlas RFID Solutions, and then we'll get into the February launch details. So Atlas RFID, our main product is JoVIX, and it's an award-winning material readiness application developed by Atlas RFID specifically for the capital asset market. So JoVIX is web-based server software with mobile and auto ID technologies to extend access to information to decision makers in the field. And it also digitizes and automates manual paper-based data collection. JoVIX provides and combines value for owner-operators, EPC firms, contractors, fabricators, and suppliers by removing impediments to productivity that result from material management issues. If you'd like to learn more about Atlas RFID Solutions or how JoVIX is used on more than 300 sites across the globe, and how it helps industrial construction projects and operating assets increase efficiency, and how it also protects the schedule and reduces unnecessary costs, go ahead and visit our website or give us a call. So now for the big reveal, that is, the drone-mounted reader. So over the next few slides, you're going to get a chance to see a few real photos of the drone-mounted reader in use at an industrial site, which is a mega oil and gas construction site here in the U.S. Because a drone-mounted reader can perform the sweep faster with more accurate read than a vehicle-mounted reader, one benefit is enhanced resource utilization. So, Corey, I'd like to ask you, what are some of the other benefits that we've seen with the drone-mounted reader?
Hey, thanks, Jeff. On the drone-mounted reader, we see several different value streams. We see the fact that we can sweep faster. We see that we can find material faster based off of enhanced location information, and we can find it faster at the work face as well. We've also anticipate reduced safety or increased safety benefits by having less material in the yard, or less equipment operating in the yard, and less people, ideally will have less safety incidents as well.
Great. So on this page, you actually see the drone-mounted reader in flight, and the payload is on the bottom of the Matrice 600. It's a lightweight payload. The drone itself is an industrial drone made by DJI. There's a couple of other industrial drones on the market, and this performs aerial sweeps. So real quick, a sweep can be performed by either a vehicle on the ground or, and now we've adapted it to the drone. So what is a sweep? A sweep is, on the truck, it's two antennas powered by a computer and reader, and it roams around the yard on a schedule and collects locations, and along with it collects material locations that in each of their GPS locations, and then it integrates to JoVIX. So all of the decision makers, project managers, users can see exactly where the materials are. There's no question where exactly they are. So the vehicle-mounted reader sweeps, of course, it has to go on laydown yard roads, whereas the drone-mounted reader can fly over the laydown yards and ensure complete yard coverage. And there's a lot of other benefits that Corey's going to go into greater detail with. So the next slide, we actually see the drone over the laydown yard. Each of those pipes and all of the unique materials are tagged, and it is collecting those materials and integrating into JoVIX and putting all that information, location information, into JoVIX. So now let me turn the time over to Corey Truitt, our project manager. He's got years of field experience. He's worked with numerous capital asset projects from startup to shutdown. He's well versed on the entire process from fabrication to installation, and he truly delivers material readiness to his customers. So, Corey, the first question I have for you, what are construction sites using today to manage their construction material and its related processes?
Hey, Jeff, thanks. Yeah, we're on modern construction sites today. We see a lot of homegrown solutions with an intermix of Excel spreadsheets and ultimately paper-based solutions out in the field. So whether that is a receipt coming in and the user is checking off the material that arrived, or the vice versa of that, they're taking material that's been issued to construction and then checking it off. Ultimately, that goes back into the site office and then gets put back into a spreadsheet or a database.
Yeah. So it sounds like paper-based and Excel-based solutions just don't cut it when you have thousands upon thousands, or even I've seen 1 million materials on one site. So the solution, that solution's been in place for decades. So why is this new technology and its adoption such a challenge when talking about industrial construction?
That's right, and that's a really great question. Ultimately, I believe it comes down to the opportunity at hand when we're talking about such big projects. It's sometimes it can be scary or a big cost to change processes. So that's why we've seen a slower adoption, but we're seeing other clients that are taking on those new technologies and those new processes, like Bechtel here, and really moving forward and adopting technology to improve their work performance and their site efficiency.
Yeah, and what's interesting is the adoption is accelerating. We've got a lot of large customers that in the beginning they were paving the way, and now the industry as a whole is moving that direction.
That's right.
So let's talk now about not how it's being adopted, the technology for material readiness being adopted, but how the drone-mounted reader fits and takes the benefits of automation and hardware and software to the next level.
That's right. So what we're seeing here with the drone is we're improving on already advanced technology of being able to drive a vehicle-mounted reader around the job site and calculate material locations, but we're taking it to the next step and using a drone which is giving us the ability to do what we could with that vehicle-mounted reader to do it faster now with the drone. And it's also giving us access to places that we previously haven't had access to. The laydown yard has always got nice accessible roads for the most part, but construction sites are historically congested and they're hard to gain access to. So now with the drone, we're able to go over the top of material. That lets us do it faster in the laydown yards, and it lets us gain access to those construction sites that are usually really congested.
Okay, well that's great. Now why don't you tell us about the core components of the drone-mounted reader and the vehicle-mounted reader, comparing and contrasting the two.
Yeah, so we went to, in conjunction with the Bechtel Innovate group, we went out to one of the existing Bechtel projects, and we wanted to do a direct comparison of several different aspects of what that vehicle-mounted reader and that drone-mounted reader do with each other. And so what we focused on were three different areas. We wanted to focus on the sweep density, we wanted to focus on the overall sweep completion time, but then we also wanted to know what's our accuracy with both of these devices. So we went out to an existing Bechtel project and down in Corpus Christi and ran several tests. It took us over about a week to do all of this, and compared these three categories. Again, sweep density was focusing on the number of tags we could read in a given sweep. Sweep time was focusing on how fast we could do that in correlation to a vehicle-mounted reader versus a drone-mounted reader, and then the accuracy that was provided based off of those results.
Yeah, and I think it's a good time to just give accolades to Bechtel and their Bechtel Innovate group that really propelled this. They were really driving this, and they gave us a lot of resources, right?
Yeah, it was an incredible group effort. We needed, the Bechtel Innovate said, hey, this is something we see value in. We'd like to explore the opportunity. But we also had incredible buy-in from the Corpus Christi group, who gave us their time and their resources to gain access to these places, to actually utilize it in a real-world environment. And then we had the Bechtel Equipment organization came as well with their dedicated drone team to see the viability and the overall projected use of this drone reader.
Yeah, great.
So what we'll do is we'll hop into the results here. So while we were at site, we did the tag density testing, and we wanted to compare that to the VMR and the DMR, so the vehicle and the drone. So what you'll see here on the top picture is instantly you can see anecdotally here with the graphic that we already do a good job of calculating and triangulating locations with the vehicle, but inherently we have some obstacles where we can't, or it's difficult to triangulate from a lateral read. So when we're reading it from the side, it's harder to calculate where that material likely is. So when you look at the bottom and you see that drone-mounted reader picture, you'll see that those location markers, instantly you see they're tighter. We have less material in the roads. We have them grouped where they actually are located in the laydown yard.
Yeah, and just stay on that slide for a second. Well, I want to point out the top pictures with the vehicle-mounted reader that's driving on the roads. The bottom pictures with the drone-mounted reader. And if you look closely, well, it's obvious that the marker locations of those materials are tighter, but take a look at the roads. It's more accurate. So you get more materials, and it's more accurate, and it's quicker, and you have safety benefits. It's just all around a great solution.
That's right. Yeah, especially with the tag density, we got increased counts just off of a single sweep. So we compared the two directly, and what we came out with was about a 22% increase of the material locations that we captured on the first sweep. Now, historically with the vehicle-mounted reader, we would capture those 22, but we'd have to do that sweep several different times where we got them on the first try with the drone.
Got it. That's great. So let's now take a look at the sweep time and the savings of time.
Yeah, so what we saw was an increased time the decreased time that it took to do the same sweep. Interesting note here, we found that to do a smaller yard was actually less benefit, but the larger the yard got, the time savings were exponential. So if you take a look at this example here, we've got yard 5, which was the smallest yard of the ones that we tested, and it took the VMR 7 minutes to sweep that entire yard, and it took the drone the same amount of time. But when we moved into our bigger yards, yard 6 and yard 7, it was taking the VMR 45 minutes to do both of those yards. It only took us 22 to 18 minutes, so roughly 20 minutes to do both of those. And a lot of that's directly attributed to being able to go directly over the material. We're no longer having to drive up and down the roads and on either side of them. We're able to go directly over the top and gather that information immediately.
Yeah. So flying, you can reach the corners of those yards, those materials that are maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 yards from a road that are kind of difficult for the vehicle-mounted reader to get. So the drone-mounted reader, captures more materials easier, and it's just faster.
That's right.
If you can't compare those results there, it's 56% faster, and that curve continues to go up as you get larger and larger yards.
That's right. The last thing we wanted to focus on was the location accuracy. So if we can do it faster and we can capture more locations, but we don't do it with accuracy, we're not adding much benefit. So we went back and we tested a lot of material that we found individually to identify whether we were actually getting an improved performance with this drone-mounted reader. And what we saw was staggering. We saw a 73% location accuracy improvement, and especially in these congested areas. So if you look at the bottom picture here, these are all pictures taken directly from the Bechtel job site. In some areas, we have congested pipe spools, and those are just historically hard to get good locations from. But we saw good increased locations there. If you look at the bottom right picture, we've got a small spool that ended up between two larger ones in that laydown yard, and we were actually able to capture that location with significant increase over the vehicle-mounted reader just by going over the top of these materials and looking directly down instead of having to deal with the inherent interference of coming from the side.
Yeah, so this is a question we didn't actually, I didn't actually plan on asking, but it sounds like some of this wasn't expected with the drone. I don't know that it was expected for it to be so outstanding on so many levels.
That's right. Yeah, we worked, we'll hear from Jay Slater, we worked on several iterations of testing, but when we went to Bechtel's site down in Corpus Christi, this was our first run on a true construction site, and we weren't really sure exactly of what to expect. When we saw such good results immediately, it was very promising and very exciting to see.
Awesome. So why don't you tell us, just kind of wrap it up with that test, just about the overall highlights.
Yeah. So the first thing we saw is the read coverage. So across the 7 yards, we were able to read more active RFID tags using the drone than we are with the vehicle-mounted reader in a single pass. Then what we saw was a reduced sweep time. So an increased performance when we were running around those yards. We were able to sweep a single yard faster with the drone than we were with the vehicle. In doing that, we also saw increased read accuracy. So our locations that we were capturing, not only were we capturing more of them, but the locations we were getting were actually better with the drone.
Yeah.
And then we haven't talked about this yet, Jeff, but the second thing that we provide is the ability to sweep the construction face. So we did a lot of tests in the laydown yards, but Bechtel truly wanted this to be a success, and they gave us access to the construction work face where they were in production building this plant. And when we went up there, we were able to sweep their train several different times on multiple days, and we were able to locate materials that were being staged on site. So that was material that had already been handed over to construction, but we're still gaining locations in case for whatever reason they need to go find it later.
Yeah.
And added benefit to that is when we were doing it, being elevated, we actually found material that was located staged in the pipe rack. So it was being staged roughly 20, 30 meters high, not ready for installation yet, but being staged at heights. And the DMR actually caught those locations.
Okay, so the drone-mounted reader, it was originally designed for laydown yard sweeping, collecting those material locations in a vast open laydown yard. And so what I understand is when you went there to prove this on a site, that you were actually able to read materials elevated, you said 20, 30 meters, we're talking 100 feet up in the air on these very large liquid natural gas trains at Bechtel, right?
Right.
So you got these things, a vehicle could never get a signal from up there, but the drone was able to do it, in the initial testing.
That's correct. And so I want to go ahead and take the time to point out we weren't able to with the results, we couldn't tell that they were elevated, but compared to their last known location, the last time we saw these materials is when they were at the laydown yard.
Sure.
And so because they were being staged at heights, to your point, the vehicle reader, no matter how many times they took it on the job site, they couldn't actually read it because it was staged at height, where the drone is now able to do that.
Yeah. So in other words, the system just, it's a 2D map, like Google Maps. So you were able to see they were actually superimposed on top of the trains where they actually were.
Correct.
Okay, so now let's talk to Jace Brewster, our resident engineering expert, with a few questions. So first, Jace, let me, if you will, just introduce yourself. Tell us about your role at Atlas and how you got involved with the drone-mounted reader project.
Thanks, Jeff. Hello, this is Jace Brewster. I'm going on 6 years with Atlas RFID Solutions. I'm currently a technical solutions engineer, but started as a software engineer. I got involved with the drone-mounted reader as a result of this role.
So Jace, can you tell us how you developed the patented software algorithm component of the drone-mounted reader?
Yep, that was highly inspired from our vehicle-mounted reader's algorithm, and then we adapted that for the payload being attached to a drone and going above instead of beside.
Okay, so you actually had to develop on a solution that we already had with the VMR, and by the way, that was also patented. So the drone-mounted reader algorithm built on the vehicle-mounted reader application, right?
That's correct.
That's awesome. So you had to take that from the vehicle-mounted reader algorithm and then continue to develop to really narrow in on that final solution. Can you tell us about how you actually developed through the multiple iterations?
Yeah, of course. So we started out by doing, tests, writing the application. So the guys on the ground would go out and get some results. They'd bring those results back to me. We'd do some modifications, and then they'd go out and do tests again, and we just repeated that cycle.
During the actual development of the code, the algorithm of the drone-mounted reader, I know you worked with the team remotely, right? So it's interesting to know how you were able to develop this code for a patented product while working abroad, right?
Yep, that's my favorite part about being a software engineer, is that you can literally do it from anywhere. With this code, for example, I wrote most of it in Cambodia, Thailand, and Japan. The worst part was some late nights that I had to overlap hours with the guys on the ground.
Yeah, well, I'm happy we could catch you here for this webinar. And I know that you've got some future travel plans too, right?
That's right. This weekend I'm heading towards Antarctica. I'll fly down to the southern tip of Ushuaia and then take a boat for 4 days.
Yeah, wow. So it's not every day you meet someone who says, next week I'm going to Antarctica. So that's pretty funny. And then from there, you're going to continue on your world travels. Have you already hit 7 continents this year?
After Antarctica, I will.
Okay, that's amazing. So a lifelong kind of bucket list thing. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So now we know how you did the algorithm itself, the code. But how is that integrated into the JoVIX database so that those users can actually access all of the location information?
Very similar to the vehicle-mounted reader. Once those locations are collected and analyzed and processed through our algorithm, we then submit that to the core JoVIX application, which makes it available to any other systems inside of JoVIX that use that.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jace, we definitely appreciate the insight into it, and of course, we'll look forward to working with you while you're abroad on the next, wherever you are next. So now I want to just have a call to action. Again, we are still monitoring the live chat. We see your questions coming in, and we're still answering those as you send them. So continue to send those throughout the remainder of this webinar. I also want to offer everyone to feel free to give us a call for that material readiness assessment, and you're also welcome to visit us at atlasrfid.com. So now I'm going to hand over the presentation to Daniel Binion, our VP of Product Management. He's going to talk about a few other aspects of our February launch, and he's going to wrap us up for this round. Like I said, the live chat will still be open. We'll leave it open for a while after, and our team of subject matter experts are still here to answer your questions. So now I'll turn it over to Daniel.
All right, thanks, Jeff. And just to reiterate on those comments that you're sending in, we'll also be sending out a post-webinar follow-up with many of your questions that have been asked, as well as our responses. So you'll be able to see a little bit more breadth in terms of that dialogue that we've been having here on the chat. And also, as you probably noticed, our invention and the application that we've talked about today are very specific to industrial construction and the laydown yard and the construction workface. We're also excited with some of the comments that we've received today and know that there are other applications where many of you see value, and it's something we hope to explore further with you down the road. In addition to our JoVIX application, which we talked about today, Atlas RFID Solutions also has an RFID store as well as a custom RFID Solutions offering, and that's where we'd like to explore some of these different applications for things like our drone-mounted reader and other inventions that we have. Normally, at this point, I would touch on some of the other advancements with our JoVIX application to round things out, but I'm going to kind of let the focus here be on the drone and encourage folks to read up on our upcoming release notes as part of our February 2018 release. I'd like to just quickly thank Corey, Jace, and Jeff for their time and insights here on today's webinar, and we hope to have them back in the future showing more great new technologies. So as we wrap up, a couple things. Just want to remind everyone that this drone-mounted reader that we've talked about is still pre-production with the market-ready launch of the active drone coming later this year. We're excited with the patent and the successful pilot, but we also know that there's a lot of work to do to still get this fully rounded out and launched in our production application. As a quick teaser for our next webinar, we'll be launching our new JoVIX Insights platform, which takes the mass amounts of data from JoVIX and other applications critical to your material readiness solution, things like scheduling, and brings them together in a platform to provide those insights and to give you actionable information. I don't want to go too far into the realm of a spoiler, but we hope you all can join us for that next webinar, which is upcoming in 6 weeks. We'll send an invite out via email and hope to have you there. So thanks again for all your participation, and we hope to see you here again soon.